Alright, it's the 7th part of Industrial Techno Livestream, my production livestream. What we'll be doing today is, at first, I might finish the respace sound I've started doing in the recent session. This bass was to fulfill the arrangement. I'm going to use this bass mainly in the breakdown, so it might happen that later during the arrangement I might use this respace on other sounds or in other parts of the track as well. And if we will begin the arrangement today, we will start with arranging the breakdown. Last Sunday we finished with a beat that should be played right before the breakdown, so this is the part of the track that is going to be before the breakdown. This is how the breakdown will begin. We have arranged a week ago just the beginning of it, and after that 32 bars long breakdown. I want here a long breakdown to make my track more atmospheric. I like making tracks that way. After the breakdown there will be, after the drop, the beat will sound like this. So starting from the second drop, I will have this new black sound playing. Before I wouldn't like to use it to make the track more maybe interesting or surprising. And I have to fill the space with sounds in between the bar 33 and 65. But at first, let me try to add this respace sound into the beat. The bass right now should be finished, and it consists of a separate sub-bass sound that gives me the sub-frequencies, and there's a second res sound that I will try now to play in the part of the beat before the breakdown, because I want to finish the respace sound at first, and that includes some small mixing. So definitely if I play a respace like that, I have to add a high-pass filter. Probably this high-pass filter will be automated, so whenever there is a need to, I can turn on and off the high-pass filter to play the bass with low end in the breakdown, but to play the same bass without the low end in the main beat. For now, let's leave this high-pass filter as it is, and at first I will adjust the volume of the respace while having that beat playing in the background. While we could set the high-pass filter as low as around 100 Hz just to get rid of the lowest frequencies, it might be useful to push the high-pass filter a bit higher to make the bass sound lighter. Right now this bass is definitely too loud. Very soon we will also add some sidechain compression to the respace sound. The sidechain compression will work in the exact same way as the sidechain compression I have in the black sound. So there will be a slight amount of sidechain based on what do I see in the black channel, And this is just to enhance the rhythm of the whole beat. I want to have a similar sidechain compression on the bass sound, so let me just paste the sidechain preset here. Now let's play the beat along and adjust the amount of sidechain compression. It would be fine if both bass and plug will have the same rhythm of the sidechain, so I might not change this volume modulation curve. But I want to make sure that, I want to check if the bass sound needs more pumping or not. If we will need more sidechain compression, I'm just going to change this number down there, and it will make the volume go even lower when the bass has to duck. I think more sidechain on the bass will make the beat more rhythmic. And the sidechain is now set up. There's no need here to use any sort of OTT compression or glue compression because I will keep this low pass filter set that low. So if that low pass filter is cutting so many frequencies out of the respace sound, there's no need to even use a multiband compression because this compressor wouldn't have anything to compress. Right now we have just a very small range of frequencies. And I don't want my respace, yes, to be very crispy, so that's why I removed all of the high end. So now onto the low pass filter. Let's adjust it more carefully. Let's fine tune this low pass filter. Let's adjust this high pass filter. And I feel like the high pass filter will sit at this point. Now if you are working on headphones, sometimes when mixing a track on a headphones, it's difficult to hear what does the low end sound like, whether the low end is clear or not. So something that I quite often do, if I'm not sure, is I listen to the whole track through a low pass filter. And if we use a low pass filter like that, we can just separate the low end. It will be easier to hear what is happening down there in the lower frequencies. So now I can check in that way if the low end is still solid and whether there is or isn't any low end overlap. So to check if the respace doesn't give any problems in the low end, let's play this beat with a low pass filter on the master channel, and I will turn on and off the high pass filter from the respace group. If the low end is going to sound much different when the high pass filter is turned off, well, then probably the high pass filter is set more or less correctly. The thing is that, it's a bit difficult to describe what sort of sound are we going to expect when there are problems with low frequencies. But let's try listening to the bass. In theory, when the high pass filter is turned off on the respace channel, I expect the kick drum to be less punchy in the low end. And then I know that the low frequencies from the kick drum are overlapping with the low frequencies from the bass. If so, then either I need to use a high-pass filter, or that high-pass filter is set too low. Do you have classes? Yes, of course, I give private one-on-one sessions for hard techno production, either through Ableton or FL Studio. I can also work with LFO Studio, with FL Studio. If you would like to get more details, I'm sending now my website address on the chat, and there you will have more information on the private lessons. Coming back to the master channel with a low pass filter added. Now let's see what the low end will sound like with and without that high pass filter on the respace. The difference is subtle, but the low end seems a bit cleaner with that high pass filter turned on. In theory, I could temporarily turn off the pad and vocal sounds so we can hear better what is happening in the low end. And then it's easier to hear what is happening. Of course, in our track, aside from the high pass filter on the respace sound, we also have quite a lot of sidechain compression, and this will help to separate the respace from the kick drum further. So now with that high pass filter set, I can continue equalizing the respace. Let's turn off the low pass filter from the master channel. And here when it comes to EQing the respace, fortunately there isn't that much to do. Basically the only frequency range I can take care of is 300 Hz and around. This is where the warmth of the bass sits. Okay. I want to show you once more how the low end is going to sound like with and without that high pass filter on the respace. It was my mistake, but a minute ago, when I was previewing to you the difference in the sound, I had the respace channel turned off, so there is no way you could hear any difference. Now I've just seen my mistake. Let's once again turn off the low pass filter on the master channel and turn on and off the high pass filter on the respace. And now the difference in the low end will be definitely audible. So that is the difference we should hear from using a high pass filter on the respace. The low end separation is now definitely hearable. Hello, Dice Dan. Actually, I'm not sure how to spell your alias, but could you make a tutorial for Vortex Spice Up Techno Kicks? Vortex, yeah, probably. Vortex, do you have any specific track in mind? I will write that idea down. And yeah, maybe this tutorial could be also for FL Studio. So now I'm also going to answer the second question. Do you will make more FL Studio tutorials? Yes, I'm going to do more FL Studio tutorials. Right now I'm going to put out 2 times more tutorials on YouTube, new video every week. And in the first week you will have an Ableton tutorial, and the second week an FL Studio tutorial. That's the schedule I would like to keep going. I would like to keep having. Since there isn't that much of frequency content now to be equalized in the respace sound, it will be pretty fast to equalize it. I will mainly take care of the 300 Hz range to not make the beat sound too bloated or too muddy. Chicken subtype of kick. I'm struggling to find a good way to create a crispy loud sub bass in the tail. Alright, just made a screenshot of your comment, so I'm going to have that idea written down. Thanks for the suggestion. Right, at first I checked the 200 Hz area. I think there is no need to boost that frequency range. Throughout the sessions I'm having with other people often ask, well, how to take care of that frequency range. It's tricky to get because in most tutorials, well, it's always said that you want to, yes, cut the 200 Hz range to make the kick or make the track to sound clean. Of course, that's what you can hear in most of the tutorials, because if you look at almost any if you look at the frequency spectrum of almost any track, whether it's techno, drum and bass, dubstep, we can even take a look at our frequency spectrum here. Most probably the frequency range from around 200 Hz should be the quietest one in the whole frequency spectrum on average. So that's why in these tutorials, yes, people tell you to cut 200 Hz range in the sounds to, well, not make the beat sound bloated. But of course, if you are hearing this advice for the first time, it might just happen that at first you are using too much of the EQ cut in that range, and then it leads you to another problem, that is making a mix to sound too empty. There is always a balance that you want to keep. And again, a way to have a good understanding of how many frequencies in that range you should have, the best way to check that is to keep using the reference track. So we can compare your beat to the reference track, maybe take a look in the Vox & Ghost band, take a look at the 200 Hz frequency range, and also, yes, take a listen, try to hear how warm the mix is. If you think the reference track sounds a bit more empty, sounds a bit cleaner, then most probably in your track, yes, you should make a cut somewhere in 200 Hz range. Of course, after some time, when you gain more experience, you can more or less assess without referencing to the reference track all the time how deep the cut or boost in the 200 Hz range should be. So now I would say that I don't need to boost that frequency range. Let me see what about cutting it. Alright, this sounds good, I think, but just to be double sure, I'm going now to listen to the reference track. I'm already going to say that this reference track is routed outside of the master channel, so you will not hear it. I'm doing that so I can avoid any problems with the copyright. And if I bring the Vox & Ghost pen and show you the frequency spectrum of the reference track, that is here. In that reference track, again, there's a dip in that frequency range. As I've said, we want to have that dip to make the track to sound cleaner. Okay, now I will compare this reference track to my own beat. It will take just a second and I will make a decision whether to cut or not this 200 Hz range. Okay, the reference track is a bit more rumbly, it is a bit warmer, so I would not like to make a cut here. will boost this frequency range slightly, because that's what I have heard in the reference track. The reference track was more rumbly, it sounded more warm, so that's what I'm going to do to my beat now. Of course, later it might be necessary that I would need to boost also 200 Hz range on the kick drum as well, but right now I'm working on the wrist-based sound only. And this will be the change in the sound. So it's a little step towards making my track sound more warm, as I have heard in the reference track. And again, it will be important, if that's necessary, to make similar EQ boosts in other sounds. Making a 1 dB boost in that frequency range, for example on the master channel, on the kick drum separately, on the wrist bass separately, is going to sound much better than if I tried to make a huge boost in a single sound. Of course, there could be a situation where I have a part of the track where the wrist bass is not playing. And of course, when the bass is not playing, then even if I had such a large boost in the EQ, this would not make the track sound warmer, because the wrist bass simply is not playing. But even if the wrist bass was playing, the whole track would sound unnatural, so don't do that. The last thing I could take a look at the wrist bass sound here is the 450 Hz range. Now this frequency range is going to give more of a, let's say, hollow sound to the track. So this is what that frequency range sounds like. So if your track sounds hollow, it sounds like you are trying to slurp, I don't know, Coca-Cola out of your cup with a straw, something like that. The reason for such a sound in your beat could be caused by this frequency range. I can now use the Q parameter here in the low pass filter to see how much, or to see if I need to boost or cut this frequency range. So let me take a second to check that. And this would be it. Usually when you are working in industrial techno, or if you are, having a wrist-based sound, quite often you might feel like you want to saturate it. But we have to ask a question if the saturation is now even useful or needed, because once again, the wrist bass here takes a very narrow range of frequencies. I used a low pass filter to make my bass sound not crispy. I don't want a crispy and noisy bass sound, so that's why a low pass filter was used. It means that if I now wanted to distort this bass sound, as if I felt it is needed, if I use the distortion after the equalizer, yes, with some distortion settings, I'm going to add unnecessary high end. But if I add this amp before the equalizer, you notice the bass can get simply more muddy and, well, again, bloated. Let's listen to the bass with the amp turned on and off, and let's see what is going to sound better. I will solo the kick drum and the bass only. well, definitely the bass without the amp is going to sound way cleaner. So of course distortion does not only make just the bass sounds more or less clean or more and less bloated. Of course it changes the sound in the other way as well. And now when I heard that difference in the sound, I think I'm going to saturate the bass just a bit. I wouldn't see using an equalizer. I don't see trying to use saturation after equalization to be a problem. Because we are just going to adjust the distortion accordingly to the bass sound I have already equalized. So let's see what I could use to saturate this bass sound here. We can use the amp, the drum bass. The dynamic tube will probably make the bass sound less fat. So this is not the sound I'm looking for. The erosion adds a filtered noise to the bass, so it's not going to change the sound. We can also check out the overdrive, maybe saturation and vinyl distortion. It might be a bit tedious for me to bring out almost every distortion effect in from Ableton to see what distortion plugin is going to sound best on a bass sound, but each distortion effect in Ableton gives a slightly different sound, and this is great. This is why I like using distortion effects in Ableton. Each of these effects has its separate purpose and it sounds a bit different. Some distortion plugins share some similarities. For example, drum bass could sound a bit similar to the saturator or maybe overdrive, but generally speaking, each plugin is here special on its own. Yeah, so let's play the beat, the kick drum with the bass and maybe with the vocals, and see what distortion effect we should use. Most of the distortion effects I brought didn't change the sound by much. The reason for that is, again, a low pass filter in the very end that takes away all of these mid and high frequencies. And definitely if we turned off a low pass filter and listen to these effects being turned on and off, we would hear a difference in the sound, clearly. But of course I want to keep the low pass filter turned on. And the only effect that changes the sound of the bass while that low pass filter is on is the amp. So that's why I'm going to now stick to the amp. Let's adjust this amp effects then to make the job easier. I will turn off the vocals. We will listen again to the kick drum and bass only. For me, the boost distortion style sounds best. Of course, I'm not sure if this bass sound has some stereo widths to it, but just in case, by default the output and the amp effect is set to mono. It means that, well, the output of the bass is going to be always in mono. If you have a stereo sound that you pass through the amp effect, if you want to keep the stereo width, please change the output to dual. And this is something I will do as well. in case my bass has some stereo width, so I'm not sure of that and I'm too lazy to check that right now. And now it's time to adjust the remaining controls here. Again, it's going to take a minute. Once more, let's play the kick drum with the bass only. When I adjust a distortion plugin, I of course try to listen to the character of the distortion and to what change does the distortion effect bring. It might seem obvious, but you have to also keep in mind that distortion plugins also make the output simply louder. So when I'm adjusting a plugin, I try to not think of that difference in the loudness, but I'm trying to focus on the sound itself. Regarding the difference in the loudness, I can always later use a separate utility to again adjust the volume of the bass sound. A small tip, sometimes the volume knob doesn't always have to set the output volume of the bass. You can even see now on the bottom left of the help box that if you are using blues, heavy and bass models, level volume knob can also add considerable distortion, or it just can change the sound of the distortion. I'm using the boost distortion style now, so I can use the volume knob also to control the distortion a bit. At last, I turn on and off the amp. And before I hear better whether I should use less or more distortion by adjusting the dry wet knob, I have to use that utility to compensate for that difference in loudness, because I can clearly hear the bass after using the amp is louder than the bass before using the amp. I use the utility, I pair these two effects together, and now I turn on and off the whole group, and now it's easier to hear what exactly does the amp do to the sound. Let's keep that dry wet at 79%. Now let's listen to the bass in solo with and without the distortion. There is one more thing to notice. When you are using the saturation or distortion effect, of course these effects reduce the dynamics of the sound, so it makes the volume of the sound more constant over time. And we can see that even on the oscilloscope. Right now, when the amp is turned off, we can clearly see the sidechain compression that takes place. But now let's look at the same bass after the amp effect. You see, now after using the amp, there is no sidechain. But here we could see that difference in the loudness. It would be better if we moved the amp to be before shaper then. In that way, the bass gets fatter because of the amp used, but later comes the sidechain compression that ducks the bass sound. And that's how I want to saturate the bass. So, if there's no compression needed on this bass sound, well, the bass is already distorted, it already has the sidechain compression as well as the equalizer. There's nothing much to do here with the bass sound. So let's now move on to the arrangement part of the track. Once again, let's listen to the whole beat right before the breakdown, and let me think for a second how the breakdown should sound like, what we could add, or how this breakdown should evolve. The first thing, I think I will want to keep playing the hi-hats until the beginning of the breakdown. And then, at this moment, I want to add some interesting and long delay to the percussion. That's the first thing we will do. The second thing is that the sidechain compression has to be turned off in the beginning of the breakdown. Because here in the breakdown I will not want to have the kick drum playing, so I want the bass to sound fuller. This should be shown the other way around. Yes, as in the beginning of the breakdown has more impact. Right now the breakdown is a bit too different from the bass. I'm in the transition between the main part and the breakdown is not that smooth. And the delay that I'm going to add now to the hi-hats is going to make the transition more smooth. Basically using the echo is the only way to work with the delay and the hi-hats, but I would like to keep the echo in parallel processing because later I might want to do something more to the delay sound, so I want to keep it as a, let's say, separate sound. I should add the delay effect on the whole percussion group. What works often is triplet times, because it gives a different rhythm and yes, it switches, it gives a rhythm difference at that normal 4/4 pattern. Okay, I'm playing the beats and at first let's see what decay time is going to sound best. I will bring up the feedback quite high because I would like the percussion to slowly fade out. There should be more of that feedback. We will also crank up the delay here, the volume of the delay. Okay, what did we have there? I don't remember whether it was triplets or dot times. Yes, we will keep the delay time set to dot 1/8 of a bar. I have also a possibility to set a different delay time to the left and right channel, but this is going to make the delay already sound too complex. That is something I also want to avoid. Also, because of a different delay times on the left and right channel, it might happen that the hi-hats can disappear from one channel faster than from the other one. So that's another reason for why I want to have the link turned on to add the same delay to both left and right channel. The delay time is set. Now let's work with both feedback and the volume of the delay. Maybe let's make the delay a bit louder than the hi-hats in the beginning of the breakdown. So I will start with raising the volume level of the delay here. I can use the separate utility as well as this volume fader here, so I'm used to using utility whenever I can. It helps, I think, making the project just a bit more organized. Now the deal is that this delay has to be automated. Of course, we will keep the delay quiet whenever the percussion is just playing within the beat, and this delay is going to be brought right before the breakdown. I want the automation to look something like that. Maybe let's make it even longer. And now I have to bend a bit this modulation curve. I want the delayed hi-hats to fade in quicker. I think this is going to sound good. So clearly, because the delay is for a short while louder than the hi-hats without the delay, this delay is going to be just for a split second the loudest part of the breakdown here. I feel like it's going to give the breakdown more impact, so that's why I want the delay to be that loud. And now let's see how long the delay should be, so this is something I will adjust now with the feedback. How do you fix the frequency conflict? Are you talking about any sort of phase issues? plays then? Is it about the phase cancellation or phase issues within the hi-hats? The thing with the delay here is that, in general, there are two main techniques or just the things that I use or keep in mind. At first, I arrange the track the right way. When arranging the track, I avoid playing two sounds that share a similar, if not the same, frequency range. That's the one of most sure ways to avoid sounds fighting for the same space in the frequency range. For example, if I have a let's say a low-pitched screech sound, and I also have a pad sound that also fills the mid frequencies. If these two sounds are at similar pitch, it will be difficult to mix these sounds because they will, yes, occupy the same small range of mid frequencies. So when I have that situation, I rather prefer to arrange a track where I either have the pad playing or either I have that low-pitched screech playing. That's one of the ways. But sometimes it might be indeed impossible to, for example, arrange the track in the other way. So if I have the situations then I either try to make an EQ cut at first sound. So I cut some frequency range in the first sound, and then in the second sound I boost the exact same frequency range to create some sort of a space for these two sounds. I think this is called EQ pocket technique. You can read it up on Google. The third way to separate the sounds could be to pan each sound slightly to the left and to the right, but this applies only to the stereo mix. If you play a mono mix, the panning adjustments will not be hearable anymore. And I think that later in the breakdown I can add this lead sound. No. Pocket, like the pocket you have in the pants. It should be spelled like that. I want the lead sound to be played after some while, so let's copy this MIDI note. And this lead sound can be one of these sounds that is just played repetitively over, let's say, after each 4 bars. But what do I have interest in this lead sound is I had a shifter back then that I tried to use, but it didn't sound well at first. But I guess the shifter is still not going to sound good, so maybe let's keep this shifter turned off. And I would like to have a short silence right here, yes, at the beginning of each 8 bars long loop. What would be typical for me is to start to introduce the plug sound. After all, this is the main sound that is going to be played at the second drop. What I would typically do is to start to introduce this sound right here in the middle of the breakdown, but to change the structure a bit, I will try to add this sound right from the beginning. Of course, we will be applying some volume or filter automations. We can also automate the volume envelope inside of the wavetable. So now let's play around with this synthesizer a bit. To see what I could automate. What works well is disabling some of the oscillators just from the sound to make it weaker on purpose. This is going to make the sound temporarily cleaner. Right now I think I'm going to do just that. Thank you for watching my videos, Wise Mike as well as Louis. Are you the guy who who commented on my FL Studio tutorial after the first 2 minutes after I uploaded it? Am I right? Okay. In the beginning of the breakdown, I think the first oscillator as well as the second one is going to be disabled. I can do this unfortunately only by using the volume automation. So let's automate the volume faders here in both sounds. And then that sub oscillator is the only sound that is played. I can also adjust the tone knob here. The tone, what does it do is it either plays through the sub oscillator a sine wave when the tone is set to 0 or a square wave. Because the sound, the synthesizer with the tone set to 0 is again a bit weaker, this would be a good thing to automate. But coming back to the volume envelope, I have other things that I can control. For example, I can add some more fade into the sound. This doesn't sound well, so I can turn down the sustain more. Why don't you release all the fire tracks you make? The thing is, I don't make that much of fire tracks. Throughout the last few months, yes, I've been having too little time for my own productions. I had a part-time job, but also I was given lessons, yes, making YouTube tutorials, working on the packs. Actually, I do all of these things today as well, but now I'm doing music full-time, so I tried to organize a few things a bit differently, and now I have some time to produce back. So I'm really hoping to start releasing something in the coming months. So again, it's going to maybe take me 2 or 3 months maybe to finish a single track. This is still quite a lot of time because yeah, some people can produce a new track each 2 weeks, but it's better than nothing. I will keep playing around with different parameters on the wavetable to see what else I could automate. If I will not come up with anything, yes, we will stick to automating the tone control. Yeah, it seems like the tone knob is something that we will start automating at first. I don't want the melody to be playing all the time. Maybe we will do that right from the second half of the breakdown. But in the first 16 bars, throughout the first 16 bars, we will keep the basic sound playing. And let's see how it's going to sound like if we create such an automation to the tone knob, and throughout the last 8 bars I'm also going to bring back the oscillator 1 and 2. This is going to make the sound evolve in time, I think in a very cool way. Of course, the breakdown is still a bit empty, we will fill it with remaining sounds, but now I'm checking out how the plug is going to sound like. From that moment I already know I would like to add the kick drum that can again have some automations. I like the way the plug evolves now. Yeah, what is missing now is to just fill the breakdown with more sounds. Because I have an idea to start playing the kick drum throughout the last 8 bars, let's start with it. Of course, the kick drum could have just a normal 4/4 pattern. But the kick drum also has to sound a bit less exciting. Maybe we will keep playing the whole kick drum, but we will have a high pass filter turned on. Yes, that would be very typical. But let's see what else I usually automate. Okay, these are some automations that don't bring that much of a difference to the sound. Maybe instead of just a high pass filter, let's also try a band pass one. That is, I'm going to remove both high and low frequencies from the kick drum. It will be best if I use a separate EQ8 for that to again keep the project a bit more organized. And in that way, I think a bandpass filter like that is going to again make this track a bit more atmospheric, and it will sound better than just a high pass filter. So let me adjust both of these filters. I will keep just a bit of rumble on the kick drum. Without that, the kick drum is not going to give that much power to the drop itself. But of course, I want the kick drum to be a bit weaker in the breakdown sound and the drop. So another way to make the kick drum to sound weaker before the drop is to just take away some of the bass, some of the low frequencies. And this is the bandpass filter I could use for the breakdown. I can automate the whole filter like that. And maybe let's make the kick drum disappear after some while. A slight fade out could be useful. At the end, that will be the very end of the breakdown. Yes, I could hear the delay in the second drop. That is because the automation I have here on the echo was not turned off. We can turn the delay right from the second half of the breakdown. So that's the first thing. The second thing I do not like in this breakdown is the bass, because when the bass hits a higher note, the sound is weaker. I think that's because of the sub bass sound that here is also pitched up by a whole octave. But what if I bring it down? Then the bass doesn't sound like it's pitched higher. Maybe I have to deal with that just like that, or maybe let's try pitching up the whole bass. Let me see how it's that going to sound like. Okay, I think I'm going to keep that second note on the bass line pitched a bit lower. What I did a while ago is I opened two MIDI clips on the same window. That's the way you can control that's how you can adjust the melody or the bass line in more than a single MIDI clip. Maybe I will give this MIDI clip a different color so you can see it better. What do? We select both MIDI clips and hit switch and tab. And then both MIDI clips are at the same window. Because the second MIDI clip has a different color, now I can see what notes belong to what MIDI clip. I can adjust the MIDI notes in both channels, in both MIDI clips at the same window, just like that. And it makes working on the track or just on the arrangement easier. I can also select the focus switch, and if I remember well, it's going to make sure that you are only editing the MIDI clip that you have on top. Let's make sure that I want the second note and the bass line to be at B. Yes, I want it to sound just like that. Okay, so this bass line is going to sound like that then. We also have to paste the same MIDI clip onto the sub bass sound. Okay. And now the bass is not going to sound that weak in the second part of the bass line. I can come back to the kick drum I've been talking about, making it fade away after some time to create a bit stronger drop. And let's also make this kick drum playing with a let's make this kick drum to play less frequent, less often in the beginning of the drop. something like that. And maybe in the end, we will play just a rumble. And now I can come back to automating the volume of the kick drum only. And now reserving the faders in the arrangement view is going to pay off, because these are the faders I use only to, yes, automate the whole volume of the channel. Let's give more impact to the drop. What still doesn't make this drop strong enough is the fact that the respace is plain throughout the whole length. I feel like the respace should also fade away. And I feel like we could do this by automating the high pass filter here. We can make this high pass filter cut more and more lower frequencies in time. Something like that. Let's push it a bit higher. And now I feel like with that high pass filter automation, it could be good if after the drop, the respace was actually still being audible after the drop. So if I want to play this respace now with the kick drum, with the beat, I have to automate the high pass filter once more. And then the high pass filter will set low enough to make this bass sound fat, but it's not going to be that low, so we will have problems with low end. Ah yes, the reason for why the bass sounds a bit weird after the drop is that because of the shaper automation. Now we want to turn on the sidechain back. Of course, technically speaking, it's a volume automation, but I prefer to call it sidechain because it's easier to spell. Also some uplifter effect or something that, yes, rises. Could work great on that sound. Before I try to use a typical white noise with an automated high pass filter, that sounds very EDM-like. Let me see what else I can... Oh yes, I know what I'm going to do. Alright, remember the frozen reverb I had on the vocals that I have automated to appear right before the breakdown? I think I'm going to use the same sound, and it's going to appear right before the drop. see how that it's going to sound like. This sounds good. So the sound needs to fade out after some time to make again this drop a bit smoother. And once more, to make the drop a bit stronger, I need these vocals to be for a short while louder than everything else in the breakdown. I'm not even sure if using this fader here will help with that. Let me see. At first, let's create that fade out for the vocals. Okay. After short consideration, I think it's better when the vocals disappear right away from the drop. So, something at the very beginning here doesn't sound well yet. Maybe it's the reed bass that again should start to play after the first kick drum hit. No. The reed bass has to be played right from the beginning. Any ideas, chat? The kick drum definitely has to be played right from the beginning of that second drop. Or maybe not. If I play the kick drum after some delay, then from that moment I could add some automated noise with a low pass filter. I think this could sound well, but let me think for a second of what else I could do here. There's also the pad sound that I didn't use so far. I'm not sure if any of these will be useful. No, I don't think I can use this well. What about the remaining pad elements? Okay. I'm thinking of, instead of using a white noise with a low pass filter, maybe we could use just one of these pad sounds here. One of these pad sounds here is pitched higher. Yeah, that's that one. And let's see how it would sound like if I used here a high pass filter, a low pass filter with lots of resonance. No. It sounds way too bad. So I can't use the delay and reverb. Delete is not going to be a good sound. Yeah, we have to create some new sounds. Let's call it just noise. And the noise can be done in wavetable. So yeah, so let's see how we could work with it. Let's create a 4 bars long loop for that noise. We can play this noise at almost any pitch. And the noise, of course, has to have a fixed volume, so I set the volume amplitude that way. But on the oscillator, it's either the noise here or let's see some other wavetables from the noise category. Working with noise and wavetable is a bit tricky because while you have the wavetables from the noise category, if now, yes, you play a noise like that, you have just a fixed sound that doesn't remind of noise at all. To change that into noise, I have two options. I can either use a vocoder, that will make the noise sound like that. But also a trick I have is to use a very fast LFO on this wavetable position. And then each wavetable is going to sound like noise indeed. I don't know if something interesting is going to come out from that. No. I want to have a more typical noise sound. Okay, aside from the wavetable, what is going to have some noise? Maybe the operator. Operator has a white noise like that. But also the analog is going to have something. Okay, this sounds already a bit better. I haven't ever used the drift. I'm not sure if drift has some noise as well. It doesn't seem like. Alright. There's a noise just like that. A plain noise. To which I can add a low pass filter. Let's make sure that the oscillators are turned off. And here we have the noise. Is there something interesting I can do here? Switches, filter, processing. I need to use a filter, indeed. The envelope is already there. There's no need to use an LFO or anything like that. I think I'm going to use separate equalizer for this noise modulation. Either the EQ8 or the auto filter. What about the auto filter? It sounds decent. I will stick to that filter. I want the noise to also be played a bit later. Just like that. We will make this noise, of course, much quieter. Let's add some resonance as well. And now on to automating the filter cutoff. There's no need for this filter to start right from 16K. Let's aim between 10K and 9K. As usual, my perfectionism doesn't let me to just set it to 9.5 and leave it as it is. Now to make this noise, at first I will adjust the volume of that noise. So here I have the utility for that. This noise should be a bit quieter. And let's make also the noise to fade out a bit later. Yes, just like that. Should I tweak this noise somehow? Maybe there's a way to add some effects to the noise. A typical thing I could add to the noise is the bit crusher. Let's see how it would sound like with it. I will add that before a low pass filter. Okay, this doesn't sound good. What else I can try? Saturation, not like that. Overdrive, not maybe erosion. No, no delay, none of that stuff. Let's try chorus phaser and shifter. Maybe also vocoder and corpus, just out of curiosity. If none of these will work, I'm just going to keep the noise as it is then. Nah, as expected, there isn't much I can do with the noise. Alright, so this noise makes the drop again a bit stronger and more interesting. I think the drop is already strong enough. Of course, I never aim to make the drop to sound as strong as I can, because as you can listen, this is not the type of track where it could be well required. Having a more atmospheric sound is more important for me. So now I can return to the breakdown itself, and yes, we wanted to fill the middle of the breakdown with some more sounds. I haven't used the percussion yet, so probably now this is something I will try to add into the breakdown. I mean, of course, there is a delay right in the beginning of the breakdown, but later there is nothing related to the percussion. Maybe the cymbal could be playing just like that, or maybe I can add more of the percussion. Let's see. This sounds a bit too generic. What about the delay I had? What if I played the delay alone here? No, it sounds bad. So let's keep the delay turned down. Yeah, now I just have to experiment a bit to see what is going to sound cool. In the middle of the breakdown, I have no clear idea on that. So at this point, I'm going to just mess around a bit. Maybe something cool will come up. The cymbal is going to sound bad, but while I was adding this cymbal here, I remembered that I wanted the full percussion to be played at the second drop, so here I'm going to add the cymbal back. Regarding the hi-hats, maybe once more, let's try a bit crusher here. The bit crusher sounds a bit promising. Let me play around with that more. What if I try the dynamic tube? This is also the effect that makes the hi-hats a bit less, let's say, intense. Okay, it doesn't sound good. What if I add an amp after the redux? Or maybe some corpus to fill that empty space. Okay, I'm thinking how to fill the space, how to fill the percussion more with that bit crusher. What if I try to add some delay here, and what if I place the redux after the delay here? No, this already sounds good. I like the combination of the delay and redux there. Because other distortion effects will just going to make the hi-hats more noisy, and I want something totally opposite. So the vinyl distortion is going to sound bad. I don't want to over-compress anything. There's already a delay. Yeah, now I'm browsing through the list of effects to see what else I could try to add to these hi-hats. No, I will keep using just the redux. Okay, I will set up the redux, then we will bring back a bit of the delay. Maybe I can already just add a bit of that back to the breakdown. And let's adjust the redux. Just like that. The retux, of course, has to be turned off right before the breakdown and also after the drop. So now with the automation added, I will return to adding back the delay. Where's the automation? Here it is. And this can sound like that, but then once again after the drop, I want the delay to be completely silent. I have to fix the volume modulation here. Okay, let's listen to the breakdown to see what is missing. And what is missing is another low pass automation on the hi-hats. I want to start playing them with a bit lower cutoff value to again create some sort of a progress in the breakdown to help build the tension towards the drop. So I will use the low pass filter automation. Also, before I forget about that, I want to add some part of the pad sound here. Oh, just that beginning part, the very first part of the pad. This is something I also want to add from time to time into the breakdown. Yeah, but again, copying this pad sound is going to be troublesome. Just copy and paste. Okay, we will arrange the sound maybe in a bit similar rhythm as the lead we currently have here. And on top of that, we will do that low pass filter automation on the hi-hats with a bit crusher. Or maybe this pad should be a bit longer. Then it means I have to just paste a different part of the pad, because again I have to include the automations. want this part of the pad to be just a bit longer. Maybe something like that. Let's paste it over, yes, every 2 bars, every 4 bars, I think. And let's see how is that going to sound like. Why is nothing strong? Your sound card or what? Oh, I think I was talking about the drop that is not strong enough. Now I really don't know what do you mean? Well, I do hear the music through my headphones, so for right now the sound card is working well. Everything is too quiet, bro. Ah. Sorry, but when I was looking at the volume meters on the OBS, on average, the volumes are pretty okay. Okay. Wait, let me fix that for a second then. Let me add 10 decibels to both microphone and microphone and Ableton output. Okay, now things are going to get louder. Is it loud enough now? Yeah, maybe there is still some space, so let me add 5 more dBs. Okay, thanks for noticing that. It sounds already pretty good. Though there's still not enough tension before the drop. But I will fix that soon, maybe with a few more automations. But at first, I just added the pad sound, so I said I wanted to yet automate a low pass filter here in the hi-hats. So let me do that at first. Let me check the other low pass filter. we will use this low pass filter. We will start automating the low pass filter from that cutoff, and the simplest automation I could throw is going to look just like that. Right before the drop, the cutoff will again return to around almost 1K. There is some filter resonance that I need to make this frequency sweep more exciting. We can even add a lot of that filter resonance. Let's see how it would sound like. And now the hi-hats already sound better, there is more tension before the drop. So, here I do think that the hi-hats should be simply fuller. Maybe I can disable here the redux effect, and maybe I can automate the redux effect in that way. You can find a better rumble kick stronger. Not necessarily. The kick drum here is already pretty strong. And I wouldn't like to play the full kick drum in the breakdown because I want this breakdown to be more atmospheric, so playing some kick drum with full rumble in the breakdown is for me out of option. I'm rather trying, yes, to fill the breakdown with some atmospheric sounds, but thanks for suggestion. No, this doesn't sound good. The Redux automation here. Maybe it should not be used. But maybe let's blend the hi-hats with the Redux in a bit different way. I have to use, again, an audio effect track. The reason for why I keep using audio effect tracks, even for the purpose of just automating the volume, is that when you use the dry wet knob, then you change both the volume of the dry hi-hats and the volume of the hi-hats after using the Redux. And adjusting the volume in that way, when you have a single fader, is for me less convenient than using two separate volume faders for both dry and wet sound. For me, that is a bit more convenient. And maybe in that way, I automate the volume of the hi-hats. Let's see. Here when the high-pass filter when the low-pass filter is turned off, we can mix a bit of the dry hi-hats. Just like that. But something is missing, maybe the sub bass. There is already a bit of sub bass coming from the respace sound. If I remember well. No, there isn't. You see. Probably I forgot to automate this filter here. Let me see. If so, then this automation should look maybe like this. But you see, from some moment I'm having a kick drum playing here. Yeah, but it has a bandpass filter, so here the low end shouldn't be a problem. So yeah, let's try to add that sub bass back. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. That's another good suggestion. I wanted right from the beginning, yes, to play the respace here with full low end, of course, to make the breakdown sound deeper and to make it more powerful. So I just forgot to adjust the high pass filter automation. Yeah. Okay, back to the hi-hats. Let's blend the Redux with the dry hi-hats here. We will keep the tri hi-hats at this level, and once again I have to create the automation for that. It's here. Here I want the hi-hats to be completely quiet. From the drop, I want the hi-hats to be as loud as before, and that means 0 decibels. And now, in the drop, let's turn off that low pass filter for breakdown. At this moment, I don't even want to count how many automations I do already have in this project. Also, right from the beginning of the second drop, still the hi-hats are a bit hearable. That's the oh my god, that's the delay. That's the delay that is playing right here in that quiet part of the breakdown. I also have to mute that delay. But where it is? Let me find that delay. It should be somewhere here. Yes, the percussion channel. Okay, from what channel does this sound comes? Is it from the delay? No, it shouldn't be. I think I don't want to bother with looking where it comes from, so let's just mute the whole channel. Kick drum should be a bit louder, because now when I added all of these sounds, it's got lost a bit, so let's also fix that. Alright, why at 150? I think it's a good tempo for industrial techno. It's just my personal preference. Right now, actually, I can try to change the tempo a bit, of course, and we will see how the track is going to feel like at different tempos. But maybe 148 BPM also sounds good. Yeah, that's just my personal preference. I have an empty Ableton template and it's set up to 150 BPM right from the beginning. So okay, I don't know much about, I don't know what else I can do to the breakdown. We have to listen through it again, so maybe I'm going to have some idea. If not, then maybe only small automations have to be yet adjusted. For example, the volume of the master channel. That is one of the tricks to make the drop stronger, so we will make the breakdown on purpose a bit quieter by automating the volume of the master channel, and then the drop comes with the full volume. This makes the track more powerful. But before that, let's listen to the whole breakdown once more, because it's pretty much already arranged, I would say. There is still some automation on the hi-hats I didn't adjust. Here, a low pass filter, yes? Yes. Too many sounds are playing, and that's the very end of the breakdown. I feel like I could try by turning down the hi-hats. The vocal, I added the vocal in the last session. There's live stream is still saved on YouTube, but the vocals are from Splice. Let's see. This is that exact vocal from the side toolbox back. Yeah, it's a side trans sample back. So these vocals, without much of processing, got into my track. It sounds good. It sounds better when the hi-hats are not there. But it means that the hi-hats here, maybe they should be even quieter, because I want these hi-hats to be more in the background. Let's see what did I use here to automate the volume of the hi-hats. Nothing much. So let's use this automation here. There's no need to be that detailed about volume automations because still the track is not fully mixed. But yeah, to push the hi-hats more into the background, I'm making them quieter. I made a note here that before the second half of the breakdown, there could be some one shot or some sound here added. Because the track here sounds maybe a bit empty. But what could we add here? Not the respace, not the plug, no vocals. Maybe let's try to add that lead, but with a shifter. And let's try using the shifter for one more time. Here it is. Show automation. What about that? I also feel like that from the moment where the kick drum is playing, you don't need to overdo anything to dB. I see that you put too much, everything over 4 dB. But are we talking about some channels in the mixer redlining, or are you talking about the automations? Or what's the issue here? Is it about the equalization? I wanted to make the respace quieter whenever the kick drum starts to appear here because we have a cool rumble here. And I would like that rumble to be more hearable, so that's why this respace should be here a bit quieter. We can make a volume automation that looks just like that. And then the volume of the bass can be again at 0 dB. And I want this automation to begin right from the beginning. Just like that, it already makes the rumble, it makes the rumble a bit more present in the end of the breakdown, and there is bass because it's again pushed a bit into the background. Maybe it also gives a bit more depth to the whole arrangement, or maybe I'm blabbing too much. Right now I don't have more ideas to maybe enhance this breakdown. Maybe the breakdown is already good enough. The last thing I have in mind is to, well, here in the last part of the breakdown, after I reduce the volume of the bass, the low end in that part of the arrangement is quieter, so it doesn't give that much of tension, or maybe, I don't know, emotions to the breakdown. To compensate for that, if I made the bass quieter, now I'm going to make the kick drum a bit louder. But still, this kick drum is heavily filtered. There is no sub bass, there are no mid, high and high frequencies. So even if I make this kick drum here a bit louder, it's not going to sound stronger than the kick drum after the drop where the bandpass filter is turned off. So basically, I would say that if I don't have any more ideas to work on the breakdown, let's consider this breakdown to be arranged. And I think that considering it's almost 10 past 10, we could slowly finish today's session. What could be arranged next is maybe the second drop along with the outro. That's how I usually arrange the track, from the breakdown to the second drop to the outro. And then I arrange the first part with the intro, but this is something I can do maybe in the next week. I'm already too frightened, too scared to add even more automations, because I don't know, if I were to count, maybe we added around 15 automations today. Anyways, the project quickly got a bit cluttered. But okay, let's listen to the whole breakdown once more. And in the meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can ask them on the chat and I will reply to them. If there will be no questions, or if I will answer to everything, we will finish the stream for today. course, it sounds like this part of the track after the second drop could be maybe 16 bars long. I think this part of the track is quite interesting. And then I don't know what else. Short bridge, maybe some, yes, part with less sounds, and then the outro. But we will take a look at that into the next Sunday, into the next stream. No, man, you are totally fine. Thank you for giving me suggestions on how to arrange the track. I appreciate that. Why did everyone stop commenting? Well, some people that just like to watch. It's also okay, yes, if there are no comments. It doesn't mean that people are not interested in watching. All right. I see no questions in the chat, so that will be everything for today. Thank you for tuning in to today's stream. Thank you to everyone who has watched today's stream. From what I've seen today, we had quite a lot of people watching the stream, so that's fine. Maybe that's because I've been talking way more than in the previous weeks. And we managed to arrange the whole breakdown in, well, just 2 hours. That's great. All right. Thank you so much and have a good night. Okay. You are welcome to tune in into next Sunday to the stream as well. All right. See ya.